Welcome to the NJIT website and math podcast. My name is Stephanie, and today I will be covering intervals. So what is an interval? An interval is a set of real numbers whose graph corresponds to a special section on the number line. Well, what exactly does that mean? That means if I'm given this notation, there's a number line that can show us what this answer. Well, first let's cover what it's telling us. This is saying for some x, there exists a value that sits between a and b. So if I draw out a number line like this, so this is a, this is b, this notation here says that my x exists somewhere between a and b. Note that the way this is written, it's saying a and b do not exist in a set. If it did, then this would say a has to be greater than or equal to x. But it doesn't, so a and b are not included. Well, intervals allow us to shorten this notation for expressing this picture on this number line. And you would express it like this. This is called an open interval. And it's just another way of expressing this, and all it's saying is that some number exists between a and b on this number line. Now, note that with open intervals, you always use parentheses. Again, that means that a doesn't actually exist on the number line, and neither does b. However, let's say a and b do exist. Like this. So this says that for some x value, there exists an x in between a and b. But a can be a and it can be b. And you know that because this little symbol here represents greater than or equal to. So a is greater than or equal to x, and x is less than or equal to b. So what does this tell us now? Well, now that it's included, we only have to change into using these brackets. So the brackets are used in what's called a closed interval. The only difference between a closed interval and an open interval is whether or not these endpoints are included in your set. If they're not included, then it's called an open interval, and you use parentheses. If they are included, it's called a closed interval, and you use brackets. Now here's one more example. I just picked a random number here, 2. And we're going to draw a number line. Okay, so now we have our number line drawn out, and we're looking for a way to express the fact that x is greater than 2. Well, first of all, is 2 included in this number set? It's not. So, are we going to use open? Are we going to use an open interval or a closed interval? You use an open interval because it's not included. And you know it's going to extend some way this way, because this expression tells us x is greater than 2. So, how do we know what to put on the other side of this expression? There is no actual number because it goes to infinity. So let's just write that. It goes to infinity. Do you use a parentheses or do you use brackets? The answer to this is parentheses, because infinity is a number that you can never actually reach. So in essence, it's like it's not included in the set. You can always find some number greater and greater. Similarly, if I said for some x, there exists a value that's less than 4. So -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We know that 4 is going to be somewhere here on this number line, right? This is a point of interest. Is 4 included? No. So we use parentheses. And we know that x is less than 4. So our x value we're looking for is somewhere this way. But it can be any number less than 4. And it can go all the way to negative infinity. So again, whenever you use an infinity, use parentheses, negative infinity to 4. Using these infinity signs is called an unbounded interval. With infinity, you'll always use parentheses, never brackets, and it's unbounded because you never actually reach that number. Now let's say I said that x exists where x is less than or equal to 4. How would this change? Well, the only thing that would change is this bracket, is this parentheses. It's going to change to a bracket because now we're saying 4 is included in this number line. So the way to go about solving any of these problems is to draw a number line. 1, 0, 1, 2. And you can find any number. So if I were to draw this number line and I said I want to find a value where x is greater than or equal to negative 1 but less than or equal to 2. Well, we know our points of interest are negative 1 and 2. We know it's somewhere in between here. All we have to do now is figure out if we use parentheses or brackets. Is negative 1 included? Yes, it's equal. So we use a bracket. Is 2 included? Yes, so we use a bracket. So this answer, to another way to write this interval would be like this. And this will apply to any sort of problem that you have. All you have to worry about is if you have an open interval, which again uses parentheses, closed intervals, which use brackets, or unbounded intervals that use parentheses. So thank you for visiting the NJIT website. If you need further assistance, stop by the CAPE office in Cooper and Hall. Good luck in your studies.